So I start with the presentation. If it's too slow, please say something. I have three topics: the relationship between IT strategy and IT procurement, and the example of Simon Wardley. And he also made a case with Canton Zurich, where we used Wardley mapping to present the strategy, how to proceed. The main problem I see with IT strategy that it's too often changed and that people is not aware of the delay it takes until people has caught up with this change. Actually, there is big rumors in Switzerland about the decision of the federation to go to the cloud, and there is a lot of inertia to go in the cloud. Well, and if you go to the cloud, it makes a lot of changes necessary. How you provision your IT services, which are your partners, how ensure security, governance, and so on. And the procurement is always a little bit delayed, more than the IT department goes ahead, then the procurement must cover and adapt. And the goal is to show how to use Wardley mapping. I like this example of Simon Wardley when he made in 2010 a forward estimate of the revenue of AWS, and from 2010 to 2014, it was very near. His forecast was $7.5 billion, and in reality, it was 7.8 million. And if you look at the diagram in 2010, it was very small, but exponential growth is very hard to get with the gut feeling, but if you take the calculator, it's easy. And we have two kind of evolutions, the one which is predictable and disruption is not predictable. The disruption, BlackBerry and iPhone, was a kind of disruption. This cannot be prognosticated with Wardley mapping, but it's based on commodities. And the iPhone codes for different streams, evolutions, the battery, the networking of IP connectivity, touchscreens, and microelectronics, and also the power of batteries, which led to the wonder of iPhone. And it also was made very well for human-centered design. And I think also working groups or teams can, based on this methodology, develop new things. And it should be possible also for procurement to ensure that wonders are possible. Then this was a problem. A procurement was made in 3 lots, or in 4, A, B, C, D. And the lot C presented on the Wardley map shows that it's very huge compared to the other lots. And also the 2 extremes of lot C in the custom build area had a lot of excessive cost. And I would like to present why this happened. If you start with a Wardley map, you start with the user, then you can understand the user needs. In step 2, you have a look at the value chain, which covers this user need, and you need for these technologies, processes, product, project, supply chains. In step 3, you can identify if you have duplicates in your procurement, and also this blue line in step 4 shows a possible improvement. Instead of using something custom built, you go to the evolution of a product or even of something you can rent. And it's very important to have this step 4, because normally you buy things for 10, 15 years. It's also a very interesting approach of Simon Wardley is to show which methodology of Agile, Lean, and Six Sigma fit well in which evolutionary step. Agile is well for custom built. Lean, Kanban is well fitted for product and rental, and outsourcing should be Six Sigma focused. And if you have that for step 6, where you decide which method should be used for which part of your procurement, you find out that the custom build should be made with in-house agile techniques, and in the middle you can use product off the shelf with lean methodology, and the outsourcing, typically you use Six Sigma, where you define how much errors should be on part per millions, and you also have very good feeling how much it would cost. Then in step 7, you can use appropriate procurement methods for time and material in the custom build, and the green one is outcome, fixed price, fixed scope for the lila, and red you buy it by unity. And in the step 8 and 9, you can then make a mapping to the teams which build this system. And in step 9, you could also make a fit to the pioneers, settlers, and town planners mindset. It's very important to have in mind that pioneers are well for custom build, settlers are well fit for product, and town or city planners are well fitted to produce very stable, long-living services which are bought by unit prices. And it's also important to understand that to have evolution from team 1 to team as pioneer to town planners, it can take 5 to 20 years to have this evolve. And if you compare these two figures, the lot C looks like Darth Vader and is very scary because the costs are excessive, a lot of change requests. And if you have a look at the same procurement of split in team A in team 1 to team 10 with different mindsets and different methodologies, it should be a better approach to make a good decision. And at the left hand, it's a make decision. and at the right hand, you buy services or you buy products and integrate them. Are there any questions?
How much map do you present to the client?
It was very. Do you understand me? I have only noise.
Yeah.
Try to change the microphone thing. Or could you write it in the chat?
Stephan, whilst Jan's typing, did you also look at the timeline impacts? Because presumably the original procurement, they wanted it to all go as one, like you say, one Darth Vader shaped piece, but all at the same time. Presumably with the team approach that you're suggesting below, they could take different timelines for each of the teams.
I can answer this question in the next example. There we only made one map. I think the presentation of Holger in the session before is very interesting because I think you must really take care how much of these maps you present to people not familiar with Wardley mapping. It's very complicated and can lead to, it's too complicated for me. We made this map as part of a project. It was a project which had an effort, maybe, I don't remember the effort, but duration was half a year. And we had to create a target architecture for a generic business case filing system. And finally, we made this Wardley Maps to inform the people that if you want to have a standardized situation of something which is not on the market yet, you must somehow create the market. So the goal is to have this green situation where you have a tool where your applications can store information which are ready to be archived and also audited. And then we propose to start with custom build project to go deeper in the use cases and make a custom build project with individual software, or maybe based on a standard software, but which really ensures that you have a custom built solution. And once you learn how this works, then you go from the genesis to the product phase. And there you could make a standard. In Switzerland, we have an organization which is called ECH, and they make standards which are valid for the government agencies of the whole Switzerland. And this will then make the base to finally have a product which can be used in Zurich and also in other cantons. And this we tried to explain to the customer, but it was not so easy to explain. And actually, the project was in 2 years now, and they're still in the political process to bring it forward. And here are some links, the link to the tweet of Simon. And what I want to do now is I started a map with actual problem we have in Switzerland, which is the electronic identity. The electronic identity in Switzerland is not established yet. We had 2 years ago a votation, because in Switzerland it's possible that the whole country can vote. And there was a huge political discussion about this electronic identification, because the first approach was that private companies make this service, and finally the decision was that in 2021 the votation was against this. It was denied by the people, and then the responsible department restarted a new approach, and actually we have a public discussion, and it was the decision was taken that it should be based on self-sovereign identity. And it looks like this. I start with the figure 5. This was the originally planned approach, where central government identity providers should make all the identification and use as logins with the electronic ID. And the risk here is that these identity providers know each relying party you visit, and they can also collect a lot of data. And then decision was taken, it should be switched to a self-sovereign identity architecture, and all this red dot must be built by the government. And this is a huge problem for the procurement process, because procurement, if you need a team to build something, it takes normally, if you have a problem well described, then you make a public bid. You must start with the description, what you want. Maybe that you want a wallet or an identity hub or self-sovereign identity for decentral IDs. And each of these functionalities, from the idea until the team can start working, it takes easy 9 months. And I started with these 3 main users: the government, the citizen, and enterprises. And I see 3 main outputs: the procurement of electronic ID, the operation of this ID, and citizens and enterprise want to use it. Here I made the first approach with the IDP, which got a lot of inertia against as a technology for this electronic ID. And now a new way must be found. And there is an approach. The approach normally used is not like this one we have seen in this example of Simon Wardley, that you describe the whole project and search one company which can make this. But today we don't have an approach how to handle it, that you can split procurement such fine-grained to 10 teams. This is not so easy to make. And this was the idea of this session, to discuss how to find ways, how to enable the procurement process to have 10 different teams, like Simon has proposed it. Do you know a little bit, Jan, about procurement processes, or?
No, I'm just starting.
That's it. Yeah, that's fine. One way we discuss what works today and what it's used for this project and COVID certificate and a lot of projects. This is an approach which is used in Switzerland since about 10 years. These are technology partnerships. The procurement of a technology partnership, this is something which works very well. I put it on the product side because it's really proved. A lot of government agencies use this approach. They find approximately 6 partners, and this partnership, if there is a new project like we have actually for this self-sovereign identity with all these different components which must be built, they make mini tenders, and this previously selected 6 partners, they deliver teams to build these IT services. And with this, you get teams which can build this kind of software. But with this approach, it's not so easy. You cannot buy technology, and only by... Yes, Jan?
Yeah. You have different partners, and in the mini tenders, you select which partner is responsible for which part.
Yes.
If they start to work together, how do you ensure that everyone knows how to get the information they need? Because as I see it, they all depend on each other. And I expect it's really difficult for such a long running project with so many partners and so many teams to connect everything. Or is
Yeah.
that not a problem at all? I don't know.
No, this is because you have this, in this example, it's the Federal Office for Information Technology, and they have the whole setup and government structure to coordinate these teams which builds this. So we can draw this, we make these mini tenders, and then the mini tender, then you have the team to build all this. And the coordination, this is done by a central agency of the federation. But what we're searching for is if there is a way to do this without these technology partnerships. This would be a great approach. This could be possible. Because actually with this approach, you don't have the whole horizon of possible solutions. As if you show, finally we have this self-sovereign for EID, then we have different teams, and it's possible to repeat this approach until you have all the teams needed. And this team can build the solution. It would be very interesting to have another approach without these technology partnerships, and it would need something like a new approach.
If you have a new approach where maybe the government controlling more and not pushing responsibility into the technology partners, then the government needs more knowledge and skills to handle projects like that. If you have the team that built that and they are directly connected to the government without partners in between, you need someone to control or to lead this endeavor.
Yes, I think this is the main. We could use this door here. So this would be procurement or something like this, of smaller teams, government, delivery. Goes it in this direction? Would we need more if we have this? And I think we also need some kind of a new process, because the process we have today, it takes very long, a huge amount of time. First, you have to write the specification, what should be built. And if you have a problem like this, where the approach change, I think this is a technology innovation in the genesis. Also to have these wallets and all these components, it's not possible to write a specification which is still valid in a year when it's built. This is not possible. You have much shorter time frames. And one approach the procurement process has an option is, if you have standardized goods, you can make bids, but it only works if it's very standard. Maybe cloud services or things like this are a little bit standardized, but for teams, it wouldn't be so easy to say, I need a team which built me this, or a team which solved the problem. And the problem is not very clear, because they always must have from the law. They cannot say, here you have this problem and this amount of time and now you can work. There must be always the challenge that it's already clear what is thought by the government.
The only exception I've seen to that, Stephan, is, do you think some European countries have used the innovation challenge procurement?
I don't know, never heard.
So it's a procurement mechanism where you state the end goal or the outcome that you want to get to, and you select a bidding team. But if the team, for whatever reason, isn't on track, you can or doesn't want to productize the solution, you can substitute them out and then substitute in a new team. So you have some flexibility about how it's done. And then the other one I've seen, I think it was Estonia used it. So there is a design challenge function in procurement where normally it's for, you set, here's the design of a school building, and then everyone has to follow it or adhere to it. But Estonia tried to use it for a software piece rather than a physical infrastructure, and had some success. But both of those examples, I think, have the need for the leadership that's willing to try something new. You need that pioneer leadership that is going to protect that team or protect that new way of working for at least the duration of you doing that experiment, probably slightly longer as well.
The first one was
Innovation Challenge, I think it's called. I'll see if I can find a link, and if I can, I'll put it in the chat.
Yes, would be great. Yes, this is right. We have something, this is the design challenge we have, but it makes the procurement period even longer, maybe 12 months. It's called in Switzerland dialogue where normally you make the specification, then everybody can challenge for the key criteria, then they select maybe 3 to 6 companies, and then there is a dialogue where they find out which team fits best, but it takes 12 months. And if you have challenges like this, where it's really moving, it sounds great, this innovation challenge. It would be interesting to challenge this with the colleagues, yes. Do you know how fast it is or how much time it needs for this kind of procurement?
So the one that I saw took 9 months.
9 months, yeah.
Yeah, for the procurement. Obviously, then the project was at the end of that.
Yeah. That's why the mini tenders are so attractive, because there you can start after 3 to 5 weeks or even faster. Yeah. Because they also have a lot of delays by the law enforcement, or if you go to a court and if you don't agree something, then maybe delayed 1 year or so. Yes. But I think Wardley Maps can be used for this kind of discussion, but it must be made care to not overload the audience with too much concept. It was very interesting from Holger how he showed this near 200 concepts of Wardley mapping, and if you put this all in one presentation, you surely have cognitive overload of the audience. Oh, thank you very much, John. I will have a look at this. Thank you. We have some questions or further ideas?
Not for me at this stage, but it's been really helpful. Like I say, being able to break it down, obviously, being able to do this Wardley mapping in the background without necessarily overloading clients and procurement teams with it, but just getting that understanding has been really useful.
Yes, I will put it on the Miro board, and I can share this Miro board. I think you must have a Miro account. I can only make a team invite. So I think 5 minutes pause between till the next would be great. Thank you for your participation, and I wish you a great day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.